the most courageous thing. I don't know if any lawyer or nurse or doctor would have done what this sister did. But Allah brought her to us, and I'm bringing her to you. She is. I love you more. In the most holy name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we give praise and we thank Him this time of His existence, since there was no time until He made it. But we know He goes back beyond 82 trillion years. So this last 6,000 years is not even a drop in the bucket of time. But you and I are here, and we thank Him for His mercy and the fact that He always raises up from among a people, whenever they go astray, a warner and a guide to share with that people what His will is in real time. That's right. He never restrains a people or constricts them to have to rely on historical figures for their guidance. Though we love and respect all of His prophets and messengers, we need one of our own in real time. That's right. That's right. We thank Allah in this 6,000 year cycle for all of the prophets and messengers who have kept us from having to meet destruction. The Holy Quran says there are many whose names we do not know, and there are a few who we do know. Some of them, beloved, have had such impact on humanity that they are named not only in this Holy Quran, which is direct revelation from Allah, but they are named in the Bible as well. And I call their names this morning, and I thank Him for Moses and the Torah, for Jesus and the Gospel, for Muhammad ibn Abdullah, who received the Holy Quran. As a black woman who is a descendant of slaves here in North America, I can never thank Allah enough for His intervention in the affairs of my people, in the person of Master Farid Muhammad, who came alone from the holy city of Mecca and made himself known July 4th, 1930. He traveled to Detroit, Michigan, where he met a young man who was a grandson of slaves and had been part of the great migration of more than 6 million black people who left here, the South, between 1915 and 1970, seeking relief and refuge from the domestic terrorism and economic deprivation of the Deep South. And though they didn't find much relief in the cold North, nevertheless they went. And it was there that William Poole and his sons, one of them Elijah, found work in the automobile factories of Detroit. And it was in that great city of Detroit that Master Farid Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad met, and the rest is history. We thank Him over and over again. I never saw Master Farid Muhammad or heard him. I never saw the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in person or heard him in person. But I was blessed as a young lawyer in the early 1980s in New York, having been diagnosed with cancer, which had taken my father's life. I came upon a poster in a subway in New York City. I was enjoying the trappings of material life, but I was spiritually and emotionally bankrupt. My mother was grieving over the loss of my father, and our little family that had grown up in Columbus, Ohio, was devastated by his death. And unbeknownst to me, I went into a period of loneliness, and that's when the illness took hold of me. And I was receiving chemotherapy when I saw the poster, and it said, "Truth crushed to the earth must rise again. Come on. Louis Farrakhan speaks at the 369th Army." And everything just happened so quickly after that. Both myself and my two beloved friends and colleagues, all of us came in the Nation of Islam together. Brother Larry Muhammad, who has since passed away, Sister Barbara Muhammad, who is a practicing lawyer in Atlanta, Georgia right now, in Mosque number 15, one of the best we have. That's right. We all came in together. And even though my oncologist or cancer specialist had given me just a few months, here I am, more than 40 years later. And my beloved friend and colleague, Sister Patricia Muhammad, one of the very best we have in the Nation of Islam. It was her narrative that brought back up to the surface my own. Every single person in this room has a story.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
And one day you need to tell it.
Come on. That's right.
Because the fact you're sitting here means you're a winner. You're a winner. And our people need to know of your victory over the vicissitudes of life. And the fact that you and I are here on a Sunday morning, we're not laying in bed recovering from alcohol. We're not rolling over looking at somebody we never met until last night. We don't smell like, they gave it the right name, loud weed. We don't have ham smelling coming from the kitchen. These are the things we sometimes forget to be grateful for. And had it not been for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I would never know of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I would never know of Master Father Muhammad. And I would not be standing here looking at your beautiful faces here in Holly Springs, Mississippi. I'm thankful this morning. And I greet you in the word of peace of Assalamu alaikum. While we're on the subject of the awesome mercy of Allah, just wanted to share a verse from him, a couple of verses in the Holy Quran, in chapter 14 entitled Abraham. And I'm overcome because I see so many people in this audience I know personally and I have worked with over the years, both in Chicago and in Atlanta and here, and I'm just humbled that you're here. And it could be any of us standing up here. Sister Patricia would tell you that, you know, when you're up here, you just say, why am I up here?
Right,
you know,
right.
all I can do is say what he said.
That's all.
Okay?
That's right.
And you're always safe when you do that.
That's right.
But Abraham, another great one.
Yes.
The one that God called a friend.
That's right.
The one he loves so much that we are here because of a promise that God made to him, that we would undergo this nightmare, this hell of 400 years, but that he himself would come and deliver us with great substance. We are the seed of Abraham. And back further than that, the tribe of Shabazz, the indestructible. We survived the splitting of the planet Earth 66 trillion years ago, still here. No one can destroy us, even ourselves. And sometimes we try real hard. But Allah says this, tell my servants who believe to keep up prayer and spend out of what we have given them secretly and openly before the coming of the day in which there is no bartering or befriending. Allah is he who created the heavens and the earth and sent down water from the clouds, then brought forth with it fruits as a sustenance for you. He has made the ships subservient to you to run their course in the sea by his command. And he has made the rivers subservient to you. And he has made subservient to you the sun and the moon, pursuing their courses. And he has made subservient to you the night and the day. And he gives you of all you ask of him. I want to say that again, because it kind of shocked me when I saw it again in the study course Minister Farrakhan gave us. You know how you read things and see things, and then one day you have a brain cell explosion, and you finally see what you're seeing? He gives you of all you ask of him. Listen at that. Allah denies you nothing you ask. Well, I don't have it. Well, you didn't ask. You didn't ask. And there is a way that you have to ask. Because when you and my children come to us, we, what? You don't come to me like that?
That's right.
Now you need to ask me that again.
That's right.
Don't be giving me no commands. Ask me nicely. Well, if we demand that, then should we not show him the proper level of respect? He loves us dearly. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in his phenomenal message during the Holy Day of Atonement on October 13th, did you hear what he called you? He came out the gate blazing. I don't know if you know what he called you. And I don't know if you accept what he called you. And he is the voice of Allah. He's the instrument of the will of Allah among us today. You know what he called you? The supreme beings. The supreme beings in Allah's creation. Now, what higher standard can be set for you and I than that? None. No, not one. So you and I are not born to go and beg for a job. We're not born to pour over loan papers trying to get a house from someone who owes us trillions of dollars. You and I are born to be gods, children of the Most High God. And there's nothing above us but Allah. You remember in the series Roots, when they showed how we lived in what is called Africa, but is actually East Asia. And that was at our fall, and we were more civilized than they. By they, I mean white people. We were more civilized in our fall than they were at their peak. They're in their fall now.
That's right.
But when a child was born in West Africa, the father would take the baby out and lift the baby up under the blanket of stars and say, behold, the only thing greater than yourself.
That's right.
There's nothing and no one greater than you but the self-created God, the originator of the heavens and the earth. So we are, beloved, I'm going to use this morning to just review quickly last night. And I thank Brother Andre and Brother James and all of you, the believers and laborers, Sister Minister Patricia, and everyone who worked so hard to make that town hall meeting in Coldwater, Mississippi, the best ever. Each one exceeds the previous one. Now, why is that the best? Because it was in a black town. That's why. It was a taste of a separate state or territory of our own. The energy was phenomenal. The police chief of Coldwater, Mississippi was there, black man. And they escorted us out of the city to make sure we got out of there safely. Now, of course, white people know better. They're crazy, but they're not totally crazy yet. The media asked the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, this plane that you say is above us, this half-mile by half-mile aircraft built for our destruction, according to you.
Come on.
Built in 1929.
That's right.
When is it going to make a move? When is it going into action? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad looked at him and said, when you make a move on us. But last night was awesome. And it brought to mind, which I want to go over briefly, not going to hold you long this morning, where we are. I pay careful attention to the questions that are raised in the town hall meetings.
Yes, ma'am.
Because one of the purposes of these meetings is to extract from our people what are their concerns.
That's right.
So that we can respond to those concerns in how we develop this plan.
That's right, man.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan calls for initiatives. He calls for events to take place. But then it is the duty of us on the ground troops. He's the air attack.
That's right.
Those of us on the ground have to implement what he calls for. Because he's a voice, he's an instrument of the will of God. And so when he spoke to the United States government on the 16th of November 2017 and said to DJ Trump, we will take 8 states, then it was up to us to put that in motion.
There you go.
That's right.
He has said to smaller groups of us in the Nation of Islam that he wants town hall meetings to discuss separation with our people. And questions come up, such as in a group like last night, where you have other organizations and entities and people in positions of leadership. And by nature, they're concerned over, well, how do I fit into this?
That's right.
All right? Well, let's look at the book of Numbers in the Bible. The first 5 books of the Bible, which were written by Moses, are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. They are collectively known as the Torah or Pentateuch. That is a Greek term meaning 5 scrolls. Now that 4th book is the book of Numbers. And it is described, the title of that book in Hebrew means the wilderness.
Wow.
The book of Numbers is not an entertaining read. It is what some would call boring because it's filled with numbers. And so begat so-and-so, and so-and-so begat so-and-so, and so-and-so. But if we know what we're looking at,
That's right.
it's probably the most exciting thing
It
we can
is.
read right now.
That's right.
It is a key chapter
That's right.
in the history of a people who were held captive in a strange land for 400 years. It narrates the period of the transition from Exodus generation to the Promised Land generation. Now we have our young brothers here, 13, 14, 17 years old, who are being trained. Brother Louis Ali training his sons
That's right.
to be nation builders. We're at the end of the revelation and teaching of the word.
That's right.
Now, some of us would be content
Come on.
to just go to events for the next 200 years.
Teach on that. Teach on that.
You going to Savior's Day? Yeah, I'm going. What hotel you staying at? Well, I'll be at Starbucks. Yeah, I'm talking about myself. You shouldn't be up here if you're not willing to take a look in the mirror, right? Y'all got my books and I'm making it. Ooh, so late going. You going to the Cobra convention? Oh yeah, I sure am. Where's that at? No, this is us. We spend billions of dollars a year on conventions,
That's right.
family reunions. Black folks,
That's right.
we just living the life, right? We're not picking cotton, most of us.
That's true.
Okay? We're not going to bed at night on some straw on the floor under a horse blanket. Lucky if you get a blanket.
That's right. That's right.
Your toddlers are not sent out in the field at the age of 1 and 2 to be human scarecrows.
It happened.
That's the life
Yes.
for 400 years, 310 in chattel slavery.
That's right.
Followed by Jim Crow. And even to this day, I saw the video that Brother James put together that you all saw that were here last night.
That's right.
This is a nightmare.
Yes, it
That's right.
is.
Teach.
Yes, it is.
Y'all look at the Sandra Bland tape and I just can barely stand it.
That's right. That is true.
Tatiana Jefferson. Now we can't even keep track.
That's right.
And I'm talking about the ones that made national headlines. None of us would pass the test when we were asked to name each and every one.
That's right.
And we're becoming desensitized to it, and we have fallen into a preset design of how we react to it. Here come the lawyers, here come the protest signs.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And for a few months we agitate,
That's right.
and then it's back to business as usual.
That's right.
And most of the summer.
And that's just the little handful we know about.
That's right.
Black folks being pulled over, Native Americans, Latinos, every day, all day, across the hells of North America. And unless you got a family or who has the ability to bring a complaint, unless you have some sort of how many of our people are just anonymous? We walk by them every
That's
day.
right. That's right.
Teach.
So if they just disappear, nobody even knows or cares.
Come on now. Women, listen.
Do you know in the Deep South how many people in the 40s and 50s went out to get a pack of cigarettes or a Coca-Cola and never came back? You know how many black children say, my father just left one day? Well, all of them didn't just leave. 2,000 crackers gathered to watch one black man stripped naked and hung for entertainment. You're living with a sociopath. And you want to know how's it going to be in the separate territory? Well, then stay the hell here.
Come on, sir.
This is the supreme wisdom
That's right.
of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad saying, make a choice.
Go ahead.
Make a choice.
That's right.
Some people stayed in Egypt.
That's right.
Some people like living with Pharaoh.
That's right.
Like being a butt dancer, butt kisser. Getting a few little treats. Found an oasis in the desert. You remember in the film Birth of a Nation? When Nat Turner's gathering the brothers and they're getting ready to make a move, and here come the house nigga. You gonna get us all killed.
Come on now.
Cause you in the kitchen, you in the house. You got a little cot in the kitchen. You're not out in the fields. Though Miss Harriet Tubman said, after working in the house as a little child, she preferred the field over the smothering presence of the white woman.
Come on. Me.
But the book of Numbers extends from the law. And I brought it up to say we're making the transition where we got to turn this over to our young people. That's why they are the focus. Tatiana was 28. Tatiana was 28. Botham Jean was 26. Tamir Rice, 12. Trayvon, 17, 16.
Right.
And the white woman on the jury, what was he doing out so late?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the psychosis you're dealing with. It was 6 o'clock in the evening.
Right.
That's right.
But you know why that old dried up clean white woman said that?
Yes.
Because when she was a child, they still had the sundown laws in Florida. Well, we're not allowed to be seen after dark. So now what's the nigga doing out? That, when you encounter them at the airport, in the stores, that's what they're thinking. Minister Louis Farrakhan said they have a low tolerance level for seeing us do well.
Right. Y'all better listen.
Trust and believe when they see you in your Lexus
Come on.
or see you in your Chevy.
That's right. Yes.
Remember Samuel Jackson's role? What's that nigga doing on a nag?
On the head. Who's that?
Leonardo DiCaprio, the owner of the plantation. You ain't seen me in a year. Are you gonna greet me? What's that nigga doing on the neck? It was against the law for a black person to ride a horse.
Higher than the white folks.
Yeah, how you gonna be up higher than white
That's
people?
right. That's right.
Damn.
That's right.
This is the reality that we live in. And our youth, who are our future is not in Wall Street.
That's right.
Our future is in our babies.
That's right.
And now that I am a grandmother, now I'm fully vested. Because there's something about becoming a grandparent. It brings a love out of you never knew. You never knew. I mean, there's nothing you won't do for your grands, okay? But every time I hear about a shooting or a murder and I look at my 4-year-old and 2-year-old grandchildren, I can't take it.
That's right. That's right.
And we have to make a way for them. We owe it to our ancestors. A lot of us love, oh, we want to remember the ancestors. Really? Then why are you sitting up here talking about taking a couple of dollars for reparations then? If you respect the ancestors. Because they said, have you ever read any of the narratives of the slaves?
Talk about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Not one wanted to be anywhere near a devil. I mean, a white person.
That's right.
Not one. They weren't like us trying to sidle up next to Heather. I'm just happy to... My husband and I still talk about a certain black preacher, black minister, who we were somewhere with them, and they had just come back from Washington. This is in the 90s. And they said, I sat next to Al Gore.
Come on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It persists.
Yes.
I'm like, not even Clinton, Al Gore.
Right.
And then recently we heard something similar. So the book of Numbers extends from the law given at Mount Sinai to the arrival of Jehovah's people in the plains of Jordan. See, this is where we're going now. We're moving into the plains of Jordan. After being saved from captivity by Jehovah through the leadership of his chosen servant Moses, the people, rather than feel gratitude, began murmuring. A sign of our disrespect is that we would persist in asking, and I understand it, but I don't accept it. That we would say, if we go into our own territory, won't they kill us?
Come on, sis.
Won't they start killing us? I mean, really? Would you like to go to Flint, Michigan and get yourself a glass of water? Are you serious?
Yes, ma'am.
But bigger than that,
Eat the food.
where's we only want to talk about the food. As Dr. Rizzi says, food-like substances. They're synthetic, so what they give us is synthetic.
All right.
But the worst part of that is we did not process the miracle of the Million Man March.
That's right.
We really did not.
That's right.
We thought it was just a great, big, nice event.
That's right. That's right.
And that comes from not knowing our history.
That's right.
That comes from not appreciating
That's right.
the power of the U.S. government.
That's right.
Because if you think that nearly 2 million black men, a black man is the scariest thing on earth
That's right.
to a Caucasian.
That's right. That's right.
Especially a white male.
That's right.
Yes, that's true.
As Dr. Francis Cress Welsing characterized it scientifically, fear of genetic annihilation.
That's right.
As a result, 2 of us could not converse in slavery. 3 was out of the question. Couldn't read. So here comes a black man and says, I want 1 million brothers to meet me, not at my house, at their house. Now, with all due respect, Jesus, the historical Jesus, never spoke to more than 35 people.
That's right.
So where are these multitudes? We have to understand prophecy versus fulfillment of prophecy. So 1.8 million black men turn out.
Cover that army.
There's no strip women.
That's right.
There's no drinks. There's no food. And it's on a Monday.
Come on, right? Come on now.
The preachers told the minister, if you have this on a Monday, it's going to collapse. It's going to fail because the few of us that got a job got to go to work. I didn't even know my brother-in-law, who I adore, my second sister under me, her husband, I adore him. But I didn't know he was so black. Because he's one of those, he has made his mark in their reality. Executive of this and executive and, playing golf and all that. He got on a bus from Columbus, Ohio to Washington, D.C. to go to the Million Man March. 80+% of those brothers were Christian. Another 10 or so percent called themselves other.
That's right.
And only a tiny percent were Muslim.
That's right.
What we all had in common is black.
That's right.
But what I'm saying is, the Bible said you were saved from captivity by Jehovah through the leadership of his chosen servant Moses. The people, rather than feel gratitude, began murmuring.
That's right.
What'd they do with the money?
That's right.
What money did you give us?
Come on, right?
The Nation of Islam paid for that event.
That's right.
Come on, sis.
What are you talking about? Did you buy a ticket?
Come on.
We're being robbed.
That's right.
Of what? You have nothing.
That's right.
Stop it.
That's right.
That's right.
You saw and witnessed and experienced a miracle,
That's
That's
right.
right.
but you're murmuring. They disbelieved in God, and their disbelief led to disobedience.
That's right.
That's right.
So the white man went to work after the Million Man March. Remember all of the conscious rap, the messaging
That's right.
that was out?
Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang, and what's my
Public Enemy. KRS.
Public Enemy, KRS-One, Sister Soldier. And back then, what's the other sister's name that's an actress now? Latifah.
She always had to have these songs.
Wearing headpieces and stars.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
Black people had on clothes,
That's right. Looking civilized.
looking civilized. Even in the film, Nino Brown,
That's
the
right.
sisters had on the nice tailored jackets, and
Looking good.
then all of a sudden, here comes all of this nasty, low-down, filthy rap and lyrics and the videos and just, I'm not even going to go into it. It's so repulsive. Do we think that just happened? Or was that by design? Because those white people said, never again. We got caught out. And that's how you know God is in something, because God will deal with you in plain sight. And you won't even see what he's doing. The minister went coast to coast speaking to black men, and then he had one special meeting in Atlanta, Georgia, where he spoke to 16,000 black women
That's right.
to explain to them what this was all about.
That's right. That's what he did. That's right.
So, and he announced it from New York. So the enemy knew,
That's right.
but he couldn't get a grip.
Right. Come on now.
You know something's going to happen.
Yes.
You out on the field and Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback for Kansas City. You see him, but you can't get a grip. Like one of the opposing players said, it's like smoke and mirrors.
Yes, ma'am. Come on.
Mariano Rivera, when he was with the New York Yankees, he threw the same ball every time, pitched the same ball. You saw it coming, you still couldn't hit it. That's Minister Farrakhan. He's in your face. He's telling you exactly what he's going to do. He does it, and you want to stop it, but you can't get a grip. That's God behind him. That's why. How do 1.8 million black men come together and nobody gets arrested?
Come on.
No fights, no shootouts. The military was underground.
That's right.
Hoping that something would happen. But that's their problem. Cedric the Entertainer said, white people hope. Oh, I hope these niggas do something. He said, black people wish. Okay. FOI said, I wish them would mess with us. FOI wanted somebody.
Come on. Yeah, we did.
No, they really did. They prayed somebody would try to run up on them. But God was in it. He held everything back. So here we are. So we've been under chastisement since then. That's what I'm saying, because our disbelief led to disobedience.
That's right. That's right.
So here we are in the wilderness under a punitive sentence. And it's not that Allah, God, wants our babies to be killed, but He's not intervening. Because we brought this down on ourselves, because we rejected His plan for our salvation, which is to leave His enemies.
Get out the way.
This book, the book of Numbers, begins with a census. It is time to organize. And that's what we're doing with these town halls.
That's right.
That petition, that's a census. It's a step toward creating a structure that will lead to a new government.
Wow.
The people in the book of Numbers were numbered in preparation for a great army to be trained for war and conquest.
Wow.
As I said last night, you knew this from the Bible, the land God promised the people was already occupied by giants. That's a term for very strong, dominant people.
That's right.
The cities were large, according to the Bible,
That's right. That's right. Wow.
and well fortified.
Wow.
This was the time for the true believers to be prepared to withstand assault from the enemy.
Teach, minister, teach.
Now, who is the first enemy? He's inside of me.
Slinking devil.
The slinking devil that occupies the opposite side of each of our minds.
Teach, minister.
That's the first enemy we all have to overcome. This is why Minister Farrakhan gave us a beautiful course for free. Now, you know Anthony Robbins and them would have charged you $9,000 million for this course called Self-Improvement, the basis for community development. But in this course, we are taught, and it saves us from the victim syndrome, because it shows you your power is capable of overcoming the number one impediment to your advancement, which is you. It's not the white man. We made them in a laboratory. I know some of us are like Scooby-Doo. But that's it's getting easier and easier to believe because
That's right.
they keep churning them out. Now they got fake hamburgers.
That's right.
Call them plant-based. See, when somebody says something's plant-based, they didn't say it's a plant. And then they got people out on, ooh, yeah, this tastes just like the Whopper. Well, what makes the Whopper edible in the first place? And as we always talk about, how can McDonald's have 3 billion burgers? And then Burger King and White Castle and all the others. How many cows are there?
Good question.
Get real. And where are they? If these burgers were really beef, there'd be cows around the walls. I mean, whoa, geez, we'd be sitting out on I-55 and 240. Where you been? You know, them cows out here.
Like Chick-fil-A.
Oh, praises. That's what the minister said in one of the study guides 18. Rise above emotion into the thinking of God. But how does God think? He thinks mathematically. So do the numbers. Whenever something comes at you, do the numbers. And it will dissolve because it will not meet the test of logic and reason.
That's right.
Okay? So the land was already occupied, and the believers had to go through a period of preparation. And that's what we've all been in these last years. We've been getting taught, given the word, not only from the pulpits, but in schools and in coffee shops. Have you noticed how we're conversing more, we're thinking more, we're becoming more analytical? And the one thing we're not doing, especially our youth, is say, yes, boss, wherever you say, boss.
That's right.
You know, our young people say to white people, excuse me.
That's right.
Girl, please. So, and it comes across, it's disrespectful, but, and I love when how my daughter deals with white people. I mean, it's oh, no. No, this is how it's going to go. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But
Yes, ma'am.
I would rather have someone who's undisciplined and brave
That's right. That's right.
than a well-disciplined Uncle Tom, Schrader Negro. All day. Because you can't teach cowardice out of people.
That's right.
But all that's required, when people say, what is going to happen to us if we get a separate state or territory, all that's required to sustain us will be provided for the same God, by the same God who has sustained us all this time.
That's right.
Do you know the book of Numbers is where we find those beautiful words? May the Lord bless you and keep you.
That's right.
May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you
That's right.
and grant you peace. You hear that in churches all across America, and we need to remember and understand the origin of that beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful verses in the Old Testament. And so the primary purpose of the census was to determine how many men were eligible for service in the army of God. Now, we wouldn't call Moses a hater.
That's right.
We wouldn't call his God Jehovah a hater, would we? All he's doing is calling his people to leave out from under Pharaoh and to go into a territory or state of their own so they can serve and worship the only one true God.
That's right.
It's not about killing people and hating people. It's about loving ourselves.
That's right.
Now, I'm closing down now. I want to quote the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, June 11th, 1972, in his great monumental series, The Theology of Time. He said, "We have no time to think about trying to correspond with the people of this world. Don't try to imitate them.
That's right.
This is the time of separation and the destruction of one and the safety of another. I don't want you to think I am here before you for fun and foolishness. I am like a traffic officer trying to direct you into the right path or lane or road. The theology of time that I am teaching you, it is the secret that has been held back on religion. We cannot depend on the road we have been put on by our enemies. We have to forsake his guidance and his leadership if we want to see the hereafter. We are not kin to them
That's right.
at all. And they are no kin to us. That is the way you get easily deceived today, by being ignorant to the knowledge of self. And we love to say, see, this just color.
That's right. That's right.
We all the same. No, we're not.
That's right. Come on.
No, we're not.
That's right.
We can spend another 3 days talking about how we are not the same. And we have been falsely divided. And I wanted to mention that about the book of Numbers. You can have the Panthers, you can have the Black Liberation Army, you can have the Nation of Islam, you can have Church of God in Christ, you can have Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, you can have whatever. The children of Israel were still in tribes.
That's right.
When they left Egypt.
That's right.
See, I don't want us to fall back and moonwalk on this by using we need to unite first.
No, that's right.
Come on, sir.
That's right.
That is an impossibility.
That's right.
And I'll tell you why in no limited time. As I said last night from Minister Farrakhan, as long as we live with white people, we will live under white people. They won't let us unite. Don't you know about Tulsa, Oklahoma? Don't you know in Holly Springs, every time you try to do something together, they slide in and break it up?
Or give something else.
We have voted until we're blue in the face. Remember we were told voting was the cure-all? We have elected officials to every post in America, including the president. Now, I don't say this subjectively. This is objectively. The best president ever
That's just true.
in the United States was Barack Obama.
That's right.
The best ever. The most intelligent, the most compassionate, the most balanced, and had the best first lady ever. Ever. The best children ever. The best pet dogs ever. They were straight out of a casting call. They were gorgeous. They were awesome. They loved everybody, and this ignorant, sociopathic, racist, backward, condemned country couldn't take it. It was Allah's last test. They could have bought some time if they had done right by Barack Obama. And like my husband says all the time, everything they wanted for his administration is happening to DJ Trump. They wanted his administration to be immersed in scandal. Do you realize his term, two terms, were spotless? Talk back to me. They were spotless. He should still be there.
That's right.
Trump has been in scandal after scandal because he's scandalous. But that's okay.
That's right.
He's our man.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
See, now you're talking crazy.
Come on, sister.
It's time to negotiate the separation. This man is a deal maker. He prides himself on the art of the deal. And let's be honest, when all other white people refuse to acknowledge leaders of other nations, he went and sat down and met with them.
That's right. Come on, sis.
He wanted to sit down with the president of Iran. And now Iran is back in the news again. That's a whole nother story. But if there's ever a person who would sit down with Minister Louis Farrakhan, now I promise I'm done. I want you to consider this. Trump loves fights, right? He loves Twitter. And Twitter doesn't have a filter. That's why I try to stay away from it. Because it's just, and you're out there forever. Even when you delete, you're still out there. Okay, so you have to be very careful with social media. But Trump is up late at night, and he loves fights. And if there's no one talking about him, he just picks somebody.
That's right. That's right.
And no one is too big or small for him to attack. He attacks celebrities, he attacks heads of state, corporate giants, the guy on the street. Okay, it doesn't matter. He talks about women. When he was accused of sexually assaulting a particular woman, you know what his defense was? Look at her.
Right.
Is that what he said? I mean, she don't even look good. That is the worst response you could possibly give. Okay. So in other words, if she was good looking, you would have done what. Is this what you're saying? But he fires on everybody. He fires his staff. He gets on everybody's case. And yet, when Minister Louis Farrakhan stepped to him in his own town in 2017 and called him out at the Watergate Hotel and said to him, we'll take 8 states. Among all the other things the minister said, you need to pull that speech up. November 16, 2017. Go to NOI.org. What did Trump say? I don't hear you.
Not a mumbling word.
Not a mumbling word. Have you ever considered that?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And it's possible that one reason Allah silenced him on that one is he's got to sit down with this man.
That's right.
And meanwhile, you know how elegant and classy the minister is. He can criticize you, but it's on such a high level, you don't feel personally attacked. So that's how he has handled Trump.
That's right.
But if you go in your Bible, what does Jehovah say to Moses when he sends him to Pharaoh? Speak a gentle word. Speak a gentle word.
That's right.
Because eventually, it is possible, even probable, that this is the Pharaoh that is going to do the deal. Somebody has to do it. It's written. Oh, it's going down. God doesn't ask for votes.
That's right.
That's the mercy among us, Minister Farrakhan, carrying out his father's instructions that you be allowed to make a choice.
That's right.
All right. You can choose whether you want to be part of it, but you can't choose whether it's going to happen. You understand?
That's right.
All right. So he never said a word back to this day to or about
That's right.
Minister Farrakhan. I think he wants to sit down
That's right.
with Minister Farrakhan. And as the minister said, and when it comes to moving people, because some people are going to have to be moved.
That's right.
That's right.
In this taking of another state.
That's right.
Or several.
That's right.
And he told him, you know how to move people. He said that to him in that same message. All right? And I can see him now saying, you know, I met with Farrakhan and he's an amazing guy. And they love him so much, his base. I mean, they adore him.
Yes, they do.
And if he says, well, you know, there ain't but a few of you guys in Mississippi.
That's right.
There's only a couple of you guys there. You ever been to Idaho? It's amazing. We got some great spots for you, so get your little stuff.
That's right.
And come on with us. But we see the picture of Pharaoh.
That's right.
Even though he's called in this day and age the president, the Bible refers to that person in that position as ruler,
That's right.
dictator,
That's right.
and Pharaoh.
That's right.
So yes, beloved, it is time for us to take our leave. And I'll close with this historical point for you to ponder over. It's close to what they call Thanksgiving. And this little group of white people called the Pilgrims, with the black hats and the little black suits. And they're going to be honored, and you show them with the Native Americans, and they're all at the table together. Do you know they never called themselves Pilgrims?
That's right.
What did they call themselves? Separatists. Separatists. Because they were coming from the resistance to the British monarchy. See, before we look at this as an aberration or something wrong or racist or ridiculous, understand, if you read your Declaration of Independence, this whole nation was founded on the concept and actuality of separation. That's what the Declaration of Independence is. It is saying we are free, we are separate from the monarchy. We will no longer submit to your taxation. We will no longer submit to a structure that leaves us landless.
That's right.
And when we were emancipated, what the United States did was transfer from a free labor economy to a wage labor economy. We never were offered land ownership.
That's right.
And if you don't own land, you can never be free and independent.
That's right.
So may Allah bless us all with love and the light of understanding. Thank you for your patience.